You might look at the modern day TfL map and think that it's forever expanding with no signs of slowing down. Stations keep on getting added, new lines get built, and there is an endless list of potential upgrades that the system might receive. I mean, how many times have you noticed a line or a station close over the years? It doesn't happen often, but since the network was opened in 1863, there have been quite a few station closures. Today's video will shed some light on the subject and cover a small handful of the stations that never made it to today. Aldwych is the first of the stations I'll be covering in this video. It opened in 1907 and was originally called Strand because of its location in central London. Aldwych was another terminus on the Piccadilly line, and it had its own branch down from Holborn. This short branch of the Piccadilly line was only a shuttle service and had very low passenger numbers right from the start. Despite its inevitable closure, it was vital during the two world wars, being used to protect valuable items from the National Gallery and artefacts from the British Museum. On the 9th of May 1915, a few stations in the area were renamed, and that is when Strand became Aldwych. From the beginning, the branch was considered for closure on multiple occasions and was on the shortlist to be closed in 1929 and 1933, but somehow it remained open. It held on for an impressive number of years until 1994, when the lifts in the station needed to be replaced, but the cost of renovating the station was not worth it due to the low revenue it was bringing in. These lifts had not been replaced since the station opened, and to bring everything up to date would cost around £3 million. Aldwych was already losing TfL a little over £150,000 per year, so after realising the repairs would cost over 20 years worth of revenue, they finally gave up, and Aldwych station closed its doors for good. Kind of. You can still get tours of the station, and they often open it up for film companies to use as a set. The only slither of hope it ever had was in the 60s because of the brand new Fleet line that was being planned, which would run through the station towards Fenchurch Street and down to the southeast of the city. This never ended up happening though, as the Fleet line's name was changed to the Jubilee line and it only ran as far as Charing Cross. This next station is a bit of a weird one. If you look at the map, Charing Cross is still there plain as day, but what if I told you that things used to be a little bit different? Let's just remove this and add that. There we go. That is what Charing Cross used to look like, but things are different now, and let's have a look at why. Going back in time a little bit, Charing Cross originally opened on the Bakerloo line in 1906, then the Northern line in 1907. Because of its location near Trafalgar Square, passenger numbers were never low, and the revenue it brought in made closing it out of the question. After its opening, not much really happened until the 70s, where quite a significant project was taking place. The Bakerloo and Northern line stations were being connected underground, and more tunnels were being dug to facilitate the brand new Jubilee line, which opened in 1979. The Jubilee line ran from Stanmore to Charing Cross and was a huge success in London. There was a number of proposed extensions, one of which would see the line continue along to Aldwych like I previously mentioned. Maybe if they had stuck with this original idea, both of these stations would have remained open as they were. This idea even got approved by Parliament in 1971, but never came to light after a more appealing extension was realised. The plan was to divert from the original route at Green Park, go through Waterloo towards the docks, then up through Canary Wharf to Stratford. Funding was an issue though, so nothing actually began until the late 90s, and then in 1999, Jubilee line trains started running to Stratford instead of Charing Cross, leaving the Jubilee line station closed to the public. Brompton Road was situated between Knightsbridge and South Kensington on the Piccadilly line. It was opened in December 1906 and passenger numbers were so low that by 1909 there were already services that ran through the station without stopping. These poor statistics weren't predictable due to it being close to the Victoria and Albert Museum, but because it was so close to Knightsbridge station, it never got as much use as they might have expected. In fact, there was strike action in May 1926 and the station usage was so low that they didn't even bother reopening it until October. And even then, they didn't even run services every day. Brompton Road had so few passengers that they removed 2 of the lifts and the ticket office was closed. It was not going well, and the final nail in the coffin was when Knightsbridge got modernised and given a new entrance which was very close to Brompton Road. When this new entrance opened in July 1934, Brompton Road was shut down. That wasn't quite the end of the story though. Just before the Second World War, the station building was sold to the War Office for the equivalent of £1.5 million in today's money. From that point, it was used quite regularly as the Royal Artillery's anti-aircraft operations room for London. But after the war ended, they had no use for it, and usage stopped entirely in the 1950s. There have been plans to open it back up as a museum or a restaurant, but nothing ever came from them. Knightsbridge was indirectly responsible for the closure of Brompton Road, but it wasn't quite as short-lived as Down Street, only 3 stops away. Down Street was only open for 25 years between 1907 and 1932, At the time, it was between Dover Street and Hyde Park Corner on the Piccadilly line. Its passenger numbers were expected to be quite high because of its location in Mayfair, but eventually it saw the same fate as Brompton Road with very low figures right from the start. It didn't take long for services to start passing through Down Street, and that started the steep decline of the few passengers they had left as they'd find the station pointless and use ones elsewhere which had more frequent service. Things might have turned out better if the station didn't open months after the rest of the line did, but because of that, people weren't willing to change the routes they'd already gotten used to, so numbers were very low from the beginning, and this wasn't helped by the wealthy area it was located in, which was home to people who could afford to travel in other ways. From 1918 onwards, Down Street was closed on Sundays, and in 1929 it was on the shortlist to be closed to reduce journey times for long-distance travellers. The 30s saw the renovation of Dover Street, which featured a name change to Green Park, and a new entrance very close to Down Street, which led to its inevitable closure in 1932. King William Street had an even shorter life than that though, and only remained open for 9 years, 2 months and 6 days. It opened on the 18th of December 1890, just north of the River Thames, very close to where Monument Station is today. The station was the original terminus of the Northern Line, which only went as far south as Stockwell at that time. It wasn't very well built and had severe capacity limitations, which led to the construction of an island platform for the station to facilitate 2 trains at once. Unfortunately, this didn't do much for the capacity issues, and when the Northern Line was extended north up to Moorgate, King William Street closed on the 24th of February 1900, with Bank and Monument acting as its replacement. There are far too many station closures to cover in one video, so I'll leave some links below where you can read more on the subject and go down the infinite rabbit hole of the Underground's past. Thank you so much for watching, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.